much. So hello, everyone. I'm very sad that I can't come to India to visit you there because I loved it very much the few times I've already been, and definitely come back soon. What was already said in the introduction, I was born and raised in Switzerland into a family of textile manufacturing business. I'm fourth generation. I started career banking, as you said, in '85, moved to Israel in '96, and in another 2 weeks, my business will be 20 years old as an independent multifamily office. I wrote the book, as you see, and today I run a multifamily office here in Tel Aviv and Zurich, as well as the single family office for my own family. Let's start with the presentation so that we have time for questions at the end. So the topics I want to touch today, the title, it says it, when to start a family office, who opens the family office, and how to run the family office. But before I go there, I would like to introduce a little bit the surroundings where I am putting the emphasis when I run a family office or when I build a family office for one of my clients, because it's very important for me, these points, before we go to the how, when, and who. So let's right away jump in Wealth transition. It might not be a surprise for you, but there is this famous saying, from shirt sleeve to shirt sleeve in 3 generations. It's known everywhere in the world. In every language, there's a different tone to it, but it's the same at the end. Wealth transition is very difficult. And we want to, there's a whole group of people in the world who have analyzed, why is wealth transition so complicated? Why is it so a source of disputes, and why is it a curse sometimes for families? And why also families after the 3rd generation already most of the time have lost the wealth they've created. So you see here on the graph that actually the main reasons, or even the 4 consistent failings of wealth transition, it's not which investment you did, it's not the banker you choose, it's not the legal structure you put up with your wealth, it is actually the communication breakdown. And the air preparation, that's already 65%. So if you talk to your children properly and teach them properly how to manage the business, they will be moving into the business and may be able to take over and they prosper it. If you communicate correctly with the next generation, that's a very important point. And of course, to help you with all this, you need a good governance. So these are the very important elements which need to be looked at also when you start the family. Now let's dive in. In the 1st generation of a wealth creator, when someone has started a business, he puts all the resources in this one goal. It's a one-man show, a one-woman show. All the resources, his energy, his money, his life is in the business. The wife, the children, everyone works for the business. And it's also said, and I heard that already many times, and believe me, even my father said it in one of the interviews he gave in a corporate internal newsletter, that business is first and family second. Yes, because the survival of the business is the most important thing for a family which is starting at the 1st generation. You're this one-man show. There's no board meetings, steering committees, processes, and time to discuss how to do things. You just do them. And as we know, behind every successful man, there's a successful woman, or the other way around in the modern times. Family are the supporting role. You don't have a managerial role as the wife or the child of a 1st generation business. You just contribute without asking too much and not expecting remuneration. It's a simple beginning. Usually the founder of the business, and you might know that when you talk to your parents or your grandparents, will always tell you, we got up early in the morning, went to the wholesale market, carried heavy load, started the shop at 7 in the morning with da-da-da-da-da, and look at our children. They are spoiled, they're being chauffeured to school, they don't have to work hard. So the 1st generation is very proud of what they achieved, and also very proud of the sacrifices they made and the whole family makes, because the head of the family usually is not around because he's working. So the success comes because of hard work, because being at the right time at the right place, but also knowing how to do something smart out of this. Now, the question is, does such a business from the first generation, does they need a family office? Of course not, because anyway, there's one person, it's a one-man show or one-woman show, who runs the business. The wife or the partner is doing the accounting. The children are doing the heavy caring. So there is no reason to have a family office. But perhaps there is a reason for some rules. And this is done internally. And if it's a bigger business and an industry business, usually you have a PA, a personal assistant to the head of the company, and she knows where the children are, she knows where the money is, she knows where everything is. So the personal assistant is kind of the family office. Comes the second generation. Now it's already a sibling partnership. The kids are born into the business. They are the spoiled kids, which are chauffeured to school. And the parent doesn't understand them because they had to walk 5 kilometers. Usually the second generation education is very important because the first generation didn't have time or money to have education. And then comes, of course, the big question: who goes into the business? If you have, as in the example here, 3 children, is there room for all 3? And who of the 3 yes, and who of the 3 no? And how do you want to do that? I worked at the beginning of my career at Bank Julius Baer, which was then still family owned. And I remember that Mr. Baer was asked, I remember that Mr. Baer said in an article that not everyone who has the name Baer can also be part of the bank. So not everyone who is part of the family is automatically also part of the business. Sometimes you don't have the skill set, or you don't have the power or the self-esteem, or there's many things, the tools you need, the toolbox you need to be in a business. And sometimes one individual doesn't suit the business. The more sophisticated the business, the more important it is that you have the knowledge. So in some cases, the son or the daughter is not suitable to go into the business. There's another very big economic family here in Israel, industrial family, the Proper family. They own Osem, or used to own Osem. Osem is the biggest food producer in this country, chips and soups and stuff like that, by now bought by Nestle. So Nestle owns it today. So the Propers were 2 brothers. They inherited it from their parents, but there were 2 Propers, Gad and Dan Proper, today in their 70s. And they were famous to saying, and he told it to me also, is that I met the daughter. She told me, my parents told us all the time, the 2 brothers always told their children, you can work in every company in the world you want, but not in ours. So they have decided that the next generation will not move up into the business because they're already cousins, so we get to the 3rd generation. But that's a policy they put up very early. So the patriarchal and matriarchal business structure is very nice and is very good. And I'm sure in India it's very common also that you keep the business in the control of the parents. But it makes it difficult for the next generation to move up. And sometimes it is very difficult to hand over from a monarch and to become a mentor. So you see Prince Charles being 73 years old and still waiting that his mother resigns, and she's 93 and she still runs the business. So you see that in many cases it is not so easy to be the next generation. I'm just quickly seeing that I have in chat if someone has a comment. No, it's okay. Sorry, just in case you don't hear me also, for sure. So the starting from the mailroom. So the next generation moving into the business, where do they move in? They come after they have an MBA and have worked outside and right away are a manager, or is it better they start at the bottom of the company and see how it is to work for this business? I know a company here in Israel, 2 businesses in Israel, one I worked with and the other one I just know, which is family owned, and there's about 50 family members in the business. They are in retail, so they have a lot of shops all around the country, and every shop or regional manager is a family member, because the head of the family told me, this is why I'm sure it's not being stolen. No money is being stolen, no goods are being stolen, because they're part of the family. Blood is thicker than water. So I trust my cousins and second cousins much more than I trust an employee. Now, there is, of course, the next point, the equal owners. Now, I know just last week he was here. I have a gentleman who is third generation. He is the oldest one of the third generation. And he came to us to consulting if it's worthwhile for him to go into the business of his parents, which are four siblings. So there are four siblings running a big business. And he's the third generation, the first one, the oldest one. He's 32. And he works in the business. But now his brother, who is 30, also moved into the business. And there's already a little bit of a rivalry because he says, look, I brought a very interesting real estate deal to the business and they also invested in it and it's a very big success. And I thought I should get a bonus for that. And my brother brought another deal and also my brother should get something. I think that that would be much better. And we try to explain to him that in your job description, it says that you have to bring real estate deals so that you do your job. I don't know if there must be a bonus. And there is this rivalry and this complexity of next generation people moving up when there's siblings or cousins. So it's very important that you write down rules, that you have, that you do a governance and that you start thinking who, how, and what, and what. That leads us to the question, is a family office needed? Of course, also here, we can say there's the PA, the personal assistant of the founder who is running most of it. Perhaps the CPA or the CFO is helping. But there might be some profit which is not going back into the business and is kept outside. There might be some family members which are not part of the business and they also need help with their monies. So I believe that the family office should be considered already here, but there's many families who still do it with the CPA or the CFO in a sibling partnership. You know what's coming. It's the third generation. Now in the third generation, you see the three circles here are separate because are much wider apart as they were in the second or in the first part. In the first part, it's everything is one circle. It doesn't matter who you are, what you are, you're all in the same circle. But if you go to the third generation, there are family members who are owners, but are not working in the business. There are family members, this will be here if you see my cursor. There are family members who are in the business, but not yet owners. And there's family members who are owners, family members, and in the business, and. So there's so many different overlapping interests of everyone. So here, just for illustration purposes, the son got divorced, married again, has another baby, just to make it more complicated. It's not out of fantasy, it's what I see in businesses. Patchwork families is more common today than you think. There is in-laws, outlaws, things are happening all the time. So you see family where there's a lot of differences happening. One other difference which you see here on the slide is that the third generation, there's an age difference. You have a baby and you have a very established businessman in the same generation. As I said before, third generation, it's already difficult. So of course here, there's no question. Of course you need the family office. The divorce and the divorce negotiations cannot be handled by the PA of the founder or by the CFO. You need a lawyer, and the lawyer you have is a corporate lawyer. So you don't want a corporate lawyer, you need a family law lawyer. The second wife might be a gold digger. Sorry, I put her with lots of bags, but it could also be the second husband or whatever. I mean, it's not gender specific. The grandson might be a really big playboy and spendthrift. All this can happen and all this will happen. So you should be prepared. You should prepare for crises. You should prepare for risks. And those are not in the business. Those crises and those risks are in the family. So you should really think about the family side of the business and not only about the prosperity of the business. To sum it up a little bit, I want to show it again in a different perspective. You have the managing of the business of the family. When you're the founder, everything is you control, you're the boss. The transition to the next generation might be difficult, but other than that, everything works smoothly. When you're siblings, you already have the issue of who and what and when and what's the remuneration and how do I get, and my son is the best to take the next generation. And the other one says, no, my daughter is better for that, etc. So the new world is a threat. Technology, digital, social media. So we need the young ones in the business, but it's very difficult to let go. So everything is happening in 3 generations, and we really, really have to be ready for that and to know how to plan ahead, because that will be at the end the success of your business. I quickly would like to take a pause in the family office world and go to my own family. In my family, our business was founded in 1890 by my great-grandfather, who married a woman which was from a textile business, and he was himself from a textile business. So they together merged the two businesses in the 1890s or to the 1906, and it was in women apparel. So lady dress, collars, which were these beautiful white, like your judges wear these beautiful white collars, the raincoats later, aprons was a big business. So everything which had to do with women clothing. This was the business of my great-grandfather from my father's side. Just for the curiosity, my grandfather from my mother's side was in children clothing, and my mother's sister married into a family which are doing men clothing, so suits and shirts. So we were actually covered from head to toe in textile. So my ancestors built the business from a small business. You see on the 1906, the picture of the ladies who were worked in the factory. Then you see World War I came. In the 30s, you see my great-grandfather and my grandfather together walking in the street just before World War II. And in 1940, my great-grandfather passed away. My grandfather and my father and his sister and my grandmother left Switzerland and went to the United States because they were afraid that the Germans would invade Switzerland. And as a Jewish family, we were better off going to America. So they fled Switzerland, stayed in America for 5 years, came back to Switzerland. The business was still there. Some of the managers and a distant relative were looking after the business while they were away. So in 1954, my father entered the business. And in 67, my grandfather passed away just before I was born. In 69, my father did a reshuffling of the business, a new factory, a new showroom, which here's a little picture of the showroom. Actually, you see my father here in the back somewhere. And build a new factory building, the most modern textile factory in Switzerland it was. But of course, with the oil crisis and with the business coming from Asia, Hong Kong, and I guess India as well, producing much cheaper than in Switzerland, the business wasn't doing so well. So my father said, I need to do something. And he went to Harvard, to the advanced management program, came back with the new management philosophy and said, if we don't make money, we close the business. So 1974, my father decided to close the business. Now, this is a shock to the system. My brother, I was still very young, but my brother and I were planned to be the next leaders of the business. My cousins in their family's business as well. They also, my uncles took them a bit longer, but they also closed the man business. The children business was closed. So my father decided in 74 to liquidate the business. Now, everyone was in shock. How can you, 80 years old, the business is so old, etc., and what will be with your family? And I'm now telling you that yes, one people saw that that's the end of our business and therefore the end of the family. Because if you don't have a business, how can you be a business family? So to the surprise of everyone, actually my father went to work as an employee in an American commodity trading company and made a little nice career afterwards. And he saved money. And every time he had money, he bought a little bit of real estate in Switzerland. And it was his savings. He looked at it as his savings. When I moved in to help him when he was a widower and already a little bit unfortunate with dementia, I started assisting him in running his investments, his savings. And I noticed that actually there is enough flesh on the bone. There's enough to actually look at it as a business and not as a savings. And I called my siblings and we made a process of a family office, building up an idea of how do we want to run this together. If you want to run it together, the inheritance law in Switzerland does not force you to stay together. You can actually take it apart. So we decided actually we have enough real estate and enough savings to create it to make it into a business. So today, 4 years after my father passed, or 5 years after, we created a company called 4W, which is the four siblings, which you see here in the back row, the three on the right, and me, the third one from the left. So we four siblings are today owning a family real estate business, which we are keeping together. The fruits of the business are being distributed between the four of us, or the four families of ours, whereas the tree, the real estate itself, is kept together. And very much according to Warren Buffett's saying, that we are sitting in the shade today because our great-grandfather, grandfather, and father was creating the wealth which we're enjoying. But we're running it as a business because we plan to keep it ongoing for another generation or two. We are not selling and we are not touching the equity. We are distributing income and are reinvesting some of the money and are improving the portfolio every now and then. So we regrouped. We are business. I'm running the business for my siblings. It's a single family office. We do the taxes for them. We do everything for everyone. So after this little parenthesis into my family, I quickly want to show you. Now I want to go to the reason where we are here today. To when do you need a family office and how should we do it? So a family office is not running the family business. A family office is running the business of the family. Because very quickly you have family members who have stake in the business and some have less stake in the business, and you still want to be a family. So we just see here in the slide here. I see here that someone asked for the templates. I will answer the questions afterwards. So here you have family members, all of them, the grandmother, the grandfather, the uncle, the aunt, the sister, the cousin, we all one family. We all come from the same founder of the business, let's say, or from the same father of who was the founder of the family, of this branch of the family. But not everyone will be the same interested in the business. Therefore, don't confuse the two things. You have all the family members are being serviced by the family office. All the family members are part of the family. If there's many of them, so we'll have to choose a board, which is the family board. They organize the Diwali parties. They organize the family reunions. Are in charge of God forbid, for funerals or memorial services and things like that. They are the heart of the family. The family board chooses 2 or 3 directors, which will be in the board of the family business. But you also have to have outside directors in the family business, obviously, because the business is complicated and it's good to have experience from outside. So the business is run by managers which are professionals. The business is run by perhaps some family members and some foreigners, some outside people, but that has nothing to do with the entire family. This has to do, that's the business and that's the family. So please, I think it's very important that all the family members are being seen by the family office. The business is seen by the people who are in the business. So, when is it time for a family office? The moment the system cannot function, you see here, there's so many people which are interconnected by so many different ways that communication is becoming very difficult. And as we said from the beginning, communication is the key to the success of a family. So that's the job of the family office, to structure the family, to have a system, to have rules, to set the rules for not how you share the ownership of the business, to set the rules who is in the business, to set the rule who is responsible and who is not responsible of certain things. It's very complex. You have to manage the complexity of the money in the business, of the money outside the business. All this has to be done by a family office. And this is a process. The family office has to facilitate to create those rules and to create a family constitution and the governance. And if you don't prepare the next generation to be part of this setup, and they just come to it by surprise or unprepared, it's very frightening for them. And they will say, what's my place? As I mentioned before, the gentleman who is not sure that he wants to move into the family business because he is afraid of the competition he will have from his cousins, especially the one which is his father is the strong uncle. Let's say there's one of the uncles which are the strongest leader in the business. And of course, if you're the son of the less powerful uncle, you are afraid that you will be left aside, even though you have perhaps much more skills than the other. So the when is the moment it's got complex, it's the right time to do. Now, who runs the family office? As I mentioned before, it should be the it should be not especially the CFO, the CPA, or your investment side, because those guys, of course, are good, or ladies are good in managing the business, in managing money, in managing, doing the accounting right. But you need some more emotions in it. And I usually say that the CEO is the chief executive officer, is usually the husband, but the wife is also a CEO because she is the chief emotional officer. She takes care of all the emotional things. She takes care of, we don't like the term, but we use it here, the soft issues, the qualitative issues. The quantitative issues, the CFO, the CPA, the investment manager can do that. How much money, where's the money, how's the money, which business, dividends, loans, leverage, all that stuff that those people can do. But who will listen to everyone in the family and who will see everyone in the family is definitely not the one who looks at numbers. So when you run the family office, is it all about the financial capital? No, you have to manage all the capitals of the family equally strong. The financial capital, we all understand. It's the money, it's the business. The intellectual capital is the knowledge of the family. Not only the business knowledge. There are skills that come from very different places. And I will talk about it at the end when we talk about Corona. But if you imagine that you are a very old-fashioned business, which everything goes by to the shops, and now COVID came and you needed an internet platform to be able to sell over the internet, to do your e-business. Isn't it very helpful that you have a geek in the family who was in computers and had nothing to do with the family business, but he knows how to write code? He is suddenly the most important person in the family, which 2 years earlier, because he did not understand anything about garment, was not able to be in the business because you didn't know what to do with it. So you have a lot of intellectual capital in the family. You must use it. Human capital. Of course, all members of the family can contribute and have this to be seen and serviced. Blood is thicker than water. If you have young children or you have a cousin who is a dancer, he be a good dancer, he might be helpful in difficult times. Don't forget them. I had at a conference like this, when we still met in person, I was in London in a family office conference and sitting at lunch next to someone, and I said, "What are you doing?" And he said, "I'm running a family office for the so-and-so family in Switzerland." It's like, "Oh, I know this family, very interesting business. They're doing furniture and they're very big and very innovative." And he says, "Yes, yes." I said, "Yeah, I know the family owner, but do they have children which are the businesses?" "Yes, the son is running the marketing, and the other son is in the production." I said, "Yeah, okay, nice. They have other children." He says, "Yeah, they have a daughter, but she's not worth anything." I'm like, "Sorry?" He says, "Yeah, she's not in the business, so she's not." I said, "But you're the family office. You're not the CEO of the business. So for you, she is a client as much as the guys who are in the business. You cannot say she's not worth anything. She's relevant for the family office and perhaps not relevant for the business right now." So I think it's very important that you also see the human capital. Social capital, we all know. I mean, we want to give back to the community as a family, which like we had, our factory was in a little town. Everyone knew us as being the industrialist in the city. You, of course, have to give back to the local soccer club or the local church or temple and be responsible for your success and see the people inside around you. And of course, you need also some spiritual capital. You need to give your children value and the non-material stuff, being it beliefs, values, mission. We are here on this world not only to make money, obviously, we all know that. So how do you run a family office? You have to be communicating. It's a one-stop shop. It's a generalist place. So if you need a new tax planning, it's not the family office who does the tax planning. It's family office who consults with the best tax advisor to get the correct tax planning and then execute it. But you might consult with a tax planner. If you need some complicated prenuptial agreement, so you take the best family law lawyer to help you, the family office. The family comes to the family office with all their problems and issues. The family office then solves it by using consultants if necessary. If the family for the first time buys a jet, I don't know how to buy a jet, but I know someone who knows exactly how you do it, where you register it, how you manage it, where you park it, where it's cheaper, where it's more expensive, how it works. So all this, the family office has to know how to do. The family office is a generalist. You're communicating with the family and in the family. You're facilitating meetings. You're collaborating. You're centralizing the information. You're always there. You create the governance, and you help to build a legacy for generations to come. Now, of course, we don't do everything every day. The fact this is my office, by the way. Here I'm sitting in the middle, and this is what the family office here. See 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 colors around the spiral, the round here. So we do financial, we do social, we do human, we do spiritual, intellectual, but not every day. Some days we do the financial. We run after the look at the liquidity. We look at the private equity, and sometimes we do human. We look that everyone has the right healthcare insurance, that everyone has what it needs to be able to survive this pandemic which we have right now. We might do different things every day for different families over the same family. This is what a family office does. Sometimes we are more involved, sometimes we are less involved. We do the reporting, we listen and execute. And it's 360 degrees. Now, in answer to that question, which I already saw, if there is templates, every family office looks different. There is not one family office which can look the same than the other. If it does, it's usually an asset management firm and not a real family office. You need to know what you need. You need to ask yourself the questions. Do I need an asset manager? Do I need to keep the family history going? Do I need a storyteller? Do I need an archive for all the scriptures of our grandfathers' letters, which are so important? How do we preserve them? How do we make them into a book, etc., etc.? So this is, in some families, more important than anything else. You have to decide who is family. Is everyone who comes from the same village and has the name is family, or only the ones which have skin in the game, only the ones which are still in the business? Are you pruning your tree? Are you expelling is a bit hard word. Are you exiting some people of the family, or they're all in there? What's the financial health for you? What's healthy for the family? Do you have a constitution? Do you have rules? What do you need? What's the mission? What's the job of the family office? Because only like this you can manage your biggest asset, which is your family office. You need you cannot only dominate through money, you need to build the story. If you want the family to be interested to stay with the family and with the family business and in the family office and in the family, you have to make them worthwhile to be there. They have to be heard and seen, and to be part of the family. Now, I see the time is advancing, but I would nevertheless quickly touch about COVID-19. This picture was made by my wife last October 19, obviously, which we were in Antampo, and we were lucky to see this beautiful tiger. We had a wonderful time in India, and very lucky to have seen tigers. So the COVID, of course, is a real threat, and you feel your hair standing up and you see the tigers are close, and you suddenly see death in its eyes. Now, that's an external threat which no one planned. It's a few black swans at the same time. And suddenly, you have to look at life in a different place. You have to be locked in at your house because you're afraid of being affected. You're less mobile. The young most probably went out, but the older people locked themselves in. You are more charitable in those times because you see the hardship for everyone. But I turn it around and say, actually, this crisis is also an opportunity. By the way, just quickly, these 3 plates on the right side is an Israeli artist who painted them during the Corona period here. And I like them very much because they're depicting the Corona. And I thought I bought 3 of them. I have 3 children, so each one of them will get 1. And they will take it with them in the future. And they will remember these times when we were home together, nearly a year, homeschooling, home, everything. The family was closer together as a side effect of this COVID. that we got closer, and it's some nice memory to hang that in your kitchen or somewhere and remember that we had these days. So in Corona, actually, it's an accelerator for transition. It's an incubator for innovation. Look at the schooling system, what they had to do to be relevant. It's a catalyzer. It reshuffles stuff. It makes a lot of things new. It's actually strengthening and brings talent out, which you didn't know that the family has. It's some good possibilities, which opportunities. Your grandson, which is just studying in the US and can't come back to India, might have looked at opportunities in the US, which before you'd even thought would be interesting for your business. Many things could have happened. So in a nutshell, what I'm trying to say, that's a picture I took at 6 in the morning. What I want to say is that, and please don't take me wrong, but we don't have to build a Taj Mahal out of our family business. It's not the holy grail. What is holy is the family. You have to be together as a family. And if garment business in Switzerland is not anymore the thing to have, so you reinvent yourself and you become a real estate business and you do real estate instead and be a business again, but a different business. And the importance is we are together. We are 16 family members and we're all together and we already prepared the next generation and we see them also as valuable members of our family. So this is enough in about 40 minutes. I hope it was interesting and open for questions, of course. So you want me to go through the questions I see on the chat?
Philip, you want me to read them for you?
Yes, please. Why not?
One thing. Okay. There's only one question. So for the recordings, guys, we'll be uploading them on our YouTube channel by next week, and we'll be sharing the links with all of you. Don't worry. Coming back to the question, I can't see the name here, but managing the reactions of the family member who cannot fit into business is an issue. I'm dealing with conflict from a son who's pushing to get in after father died. How to approach? Philip, this is for you.
Yeah. Okay. How to approach? Now, what I usually do, and I learned that, by the way, from Barbara Hauser, which is the one which talks after me. So she's one of my mentors and teachers. So what you have to do is you have, first of all, interview every family member. You can't do that as a family member, first of all. You have to have a facilitator, someone from outside, someone you trust, someone the family trusts, but it's not a discussion between father and son because there's already a lot of, or siblings, because there's already not objective, there's already a lot of baggage coming to the meeting. So you, person like me or Barbara, will interview all the family members separately. And we'll listen and listen and listen and take notes. And then we'll try to find the common denominator. Now, the young man will not want to go into the business because he doesn't see place for him in the business, or because he has thousands of ideas and no one is listening to his ideas because they're not very structured and no business plan, actually just talking. So all those things can happen. So you take everyone and you try to find him, listen out of what is really the issue. And once you know the issue, someone like me, the facilitator, will get the family together to a family meeting and say, listen, the issue number one is that that no one feels listened. Can we have an offsite meeting where everyone can brainstorm ideas and it's not always say, nah, that doesn't work because of legal. It doesn't work because of fabrication, whatever. There's 20,000 reasons why things don't work. But you can have a brainstorming session and have them speak out. Because at the end, what it is people want to be heard. People want to be seen. People want to have an impact. So if you can create something which is a good environment where people can do that, you might be able to have the discussion.
Sure. So the next question, Philip, is how do you charge for family business services or family business advising services?
Yeah, thank you. Good question. Also, when I used to be an asset manager, it was much easier. It was just basis points of assets under management. You just charge. And the client doesn't feel it so much because if you do a 5.7% performance and you take 0.2, so yes, it's money, but the money, the bulk is with the client. But if you do family business consulting, there's various different ways. I usually have either retainer or project, meaning if you want me to help you write the governance, which can take hours over hours over hours. So it's a project. So we say, okay, the project governance will cost you X. And once it's done, we'll see what else you need, and then we do a repricing. When I do family interviewing, it's by the hour. So everything is possible by the hour, retainer, or project.
Sure. Next question is just a sec. I'm just reading it. So how is assets or wealth allocated to the person within the business vis-a-vis person not in the business?
Okay, so I met an Indian family in which everything is together. It's one big pot, and whenever you need something, you get money from the business, but no one gets a salary. Actually, there is money's in the pot. It's going back to the business. You need something, you get something. And as you have in India, when the daughter is marrying into another family, so then she's out of the business and she's in the second family. What we do, I can tell you in my family because we are together. But what we did, we decided that only the real estate is together, and everything else we split up. So there was cash, investments in stock market, art, and other stuff. So this we split up equally. Everyone took money home. So everyone himself feels wealthy and can do whatever he wants. And I can tell you that my sister, which is a psychoanalyst, social worker, all her money sits in the bank and is managed by a very conservative as a manager, and she makes whatever she makes in these very conservative times of interest. I don't think that she makes a lot of money every year right now because interest is low. So very conservative portfolio. Whereas I do a lot of startup and angel investing. I mean, venture capital mainly, because that's what I like. So that's my own money. I'm not responsible to tell anyone beside my wife, of course. What I do is the money, but my siblings are not connected to that. I have my own money. But the money which we hold together, we have a very clear governance and very clear rules, how it's run, what do we do with it, what we don't do with it, and everyone gets his fair share in distribution. And I get paid for doing that with a retainer, a monthly retainer.
Sure. I don't see any other questions. Audience, we have another 5 minutes to go for the session. So if you have any questions, please shoot quickly.
There was this question about the governance. I quickly want to say it again. There is no cookie cutter governance structure. Every family has a different governance. Of course, we can say, yes, you need a governance about next generation involvement in the business. You need a governance in who decides when to pay dividends and when not. Yes, the themes are clear, but every theme has to be discussed. It's a process. It's not a document which you just copy paste. It's a process. You sit down with the family. Mainly, it's always best to have everyone at the table, but some families decide that the parents are doing the governance and the children are just having to listen. And then 10 years later, they will be invited into the revision of the governance. But it's a process. It's a discussion which goes on and on and on until you have the document ready.
Next question I can see is, if you had any gaps with the client, how will you fix it?
What do you mean gaps? What does it mean? When I have a difficulty with the client, or
maybe he means in terms of the solution that you are
I'm only a consultant. You know how it is. I give my advice, and then the client does what he wants. But I'm very happy when I have a little bit of influence. I'm not always succeeding in everything. I now have a family which has a head of the family, which he himself is second generation, which is very narcissistic, and he knows everything. I'm trying very hard to explain to him that he's better off if he talks to his children. He's better off if he sees his children, if he listens to his children a little bit. He's not very cooperative, but we achieved certain things, and I'm sometimes happy if only certain things succeed.